Well, everyone, I took your guys' opinion and your input and all that, and I did make a better comparison and better battery comparison between the iPhone SE 2020 and the other iPhone. So this time, instead of just playing a video and just letting it sit, I did actually use them the exact same amount. I ran many Geekbench scores and all that stuff to get an accurate measurement of battery life. And this way, it makes a little bit more sense. And I compared it to the iPhone 10. And honestly, to kind of sum up the whole entire battery comparison, I can tell you that the battery life is almost the same on both of these, which is very, very surprising. So basically what I did, I charged these all the way up to the full amount that they charge to. And a somewhat important thing to note is that on my iPhone 10, my battery health is at 88%. So that's a pretty important thing to note before I get too deep into this video. So keep that in mind. My iPhone SE 2020 is at the full 1821 milliamp hours or whatever it is. This one isn't at its full 2700. It's a little bit lower than that. So it's at 88%. So keep that in mind. Now, during my whole use case of this specific comparison, I loaded up a bunch of benchmarks, I ran a bunch of benchmarks, I played a bunch of games, and I did the exact same thing on both of them at the exact same time. So keep that in mind. Now, when I charged these things up fully, and I made videos on the way of me doing it, at the end of the first benchmark, as soon as I ran it, so they were charged 100%, I put the brightness all the way up, no other apps in the background except this at the time. And at the end of the benchmark and a little bit of idle time, I had a battery percent on both that was 98%. So I had about 98% battery life left on both of these devices at the same time. I was expecting a little bit more difference, but didn't end up happening. And then after a little bit more time, I went into Real Racing 3 and I played Real Racing 3 for a minute. And again, a little bit more idle time passed by and I filmed it and they were both at 78%, which was really funny. I was expecting there to be a bigger difference, but there really wasn't. So they were still stuck at 78%. So okay, I let a little bit more time pass by and then I ran another N22 benchmark score, and those things do take up a lot of power and they get your phone pretty hot too. And that's another thing. Throughout the whole entire process, both phones were pretty hot, but I did find my iPhone 10 being a little bit more hot than my iPhone SE 2, so that's a kind of an important thing to note. And then at the end of the benchmark, the second one I did, I had 59% on my SE 2 and apparently 60% on my iPhone 10. So that was a slightly difference, on the edge for the iPhone 10 for sure. And then a little bit more time passed by, I ran Asphalt 9 on both. And then I ended up getting 48% on both again at the same time, so that was another funny thing. And then a little bit more time passed by, I loaded up Real Racing 3, played that for a little while on both. And then at the end of it, I had 31% on my iPhone 10 and then 33% on my iPhone SE 2. And then I fell asleep and I forgot to film the rest of the video. But here we are, and now I actually want to show you guys the screen time that I basically had on both of them until they died out. So towards the end, I could have probably seen the SE2 doing a little bit better, but again, I had 12% battery degraded on my iPhone 10, so again, that's an important thing to note. Now, I had about 2 hours and 48 minutes before my screen time died or before my battery health died, which is a very, very important thing to note. Whereas on my iPhone 10, apparently I had the exact same thing, 2 hours and 48 minutes. So you can see all the games I played, a little bit of Asphalt 9, mostly Real Racing 3 and the Geekbench score. All these other things didn't really matter too much, and yeah, this one was on light mode, it wasn't on dark mode or anything, and I can tell you probably if you had a brand new iPhone 10 with full 100% battery health, it would probably have done better than the iPhone SE 2. It kind of just makes sense. And you would expect to get about 12% better battery life out of this thing over that thing. But even then, it wouldn't have been like a crazy big difference. It would have been a slight difference, but it wouldn't have been a crazy one. So throughout my test, I can tell you, there were so many times that the iPhone 10 and iPhone SE 2 were like at the same battery percentage. They were almost at the exact same time. There were a couple times where they were different and they ended up dying at the exact same screen time too, which is really interesting. So it is what it is, but I'll definitely tell you the SE2, iPhone 10, I wouldn't necessarily go for one because of the battery life. The battery life seems to me that they're almost the same. Throughout my testing, they were going down the same time and everything, so it is what it is. I'm not really too sure, but if I had to say it, I would probably say the SE2 and the iPhone 10 have somewhat around the same battery life. Not exactly the same, but I would probably give the edge to a brand new iPhone 10 over a brand new iPhone SE 2. So that's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.